Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to KSP. We're not doing any science in this video. We're not going to any celestial bodies. What we're doing is we are working on the Stay Steady station. This episode is dedicated to attaching the 6 fuel tanks that are necessary for ensuring that I can actually make it to these celestial bodies in something that does not require massive amounts of fuel just to get off the ground. So that was literally the whole purpose of going to the moon and Miss and all that stuff. Is I wanted to make sure that I could actually physically do this. So basically what you guys are seeing here is the construction of the sections that are going to be attached. Now, you guys are going to notice a few continuity errors. The reason behind most of them is because of jump cuts. This video was approximately 4 hours long. Yeah. I edited some stuff out because it was really just me kind of faffing about trying to get things lined up properly. And if you're wondering why I just went ahead and exited out, I wanted to make sure that the game wasn't glitched in any way and my station was still in orbit. It occurred to me as I was building this, I'm like, maybe I should double check to make sure that the station is actually still there. So yeah, I did my best to kind of edit the jump cuts to a point where they're not extremely noticeable, but there are some changes, some stuff that got forgotten, a lot of faffing around. I think they made some alterations to the skipper, because if I remember correctly, the skipper should have been able to lift this entire assembly fairly easily before. I'm not 100% certain, but at this point, 5 skipper engines only just get this thing off the ground. So yeah, I mean, you guys are seeing this at 6 times speed, and yeah, that's, you guys are kind of noticing it seems to be moving about the speed of a normal rocket. Well, yeah, because it's moving 6 times faster than it was moving normally. Also, I wanted to point out, I learned some very interesting things. I've been mentioning this in all of the videos that I have going up for Monday, so to kind of hit as wide a target audience as possible. I was not aware that the likes and subscribers and all that stuff affect the search results on for YouTube. So I want to stress, I do not ask that you guys like my videos. I do not ask that you guys subscribe to my channel. All I ask is that you guys actually enjoy yourselves and have fun, and maybe use my videos as background noise or what have you. I'm not doing this for the money. I'm not doing this for the prestige or fame. I'm doing this because I enjoy playing these games, and making videos about these games, about me playing these games and giving my opinions and impressions is something that I actually enjoy doing. So this is not for any other reason than to ensure that you guys have a good time, I have a good time, and yeah. So I don't ask that you guys do any of that stuff. I leave that up to you. So I'm not worried about my channel, becoming the most popular channel on YouTube in, any time frame, because this is not what I plan on doing for a living. I mean, I know there are people out there that do make their living off doing this, and I respect them for it, but I could probably do this if I had some help, but right now it's literally just myself. So I do the recording, I do the editing, I do the posting. And having to try and manage that on even the small scale that I'm doing it now is a fairly daunting task. Because, I mean, you're talking, I've got one Dragon Age video going out every single day except for on Saturday and Sunday. And then a KSP video going out on Monday. I've got Defiance going out again. And, you know, you're talking, I'm recording 3 games. I'm having to edit 3 games. If I end up doing more than that, I have to edit more stuff in and all that. And that's why I try and keep my videos as simplistic as possible, because it really just cuts down on the work that I have to do. And I think it makes for a slightly better experience for you guys when you guys actually get to see kind of everything and not just some of the minor stuff. Also, for anyone who is wondering why I only do 1 KSP episode a week, as I stated, this video was 3 hours. KSP takes the longest out of all of my videos to edit. Dragon Age comes close with having to, not really having to, but with cutting out the loading screens. But by comparison, you know, not really, because with KSPs, sometimes I have to do jump cuts like I've done in this video, and then there is kind of moving everything up, like accelerating the speed and all that stuff, and that takes time. The sliders and stuff like that are alright. I do wish I could like enter a number instead of having to use a slider and, you know, click and all that stuff. It would go a whole lot faster if I could just, you know, go to 6 times time acceleration and move forward, you know, move on to the next segment. But unfortunately, I can't. So what I end up doing is I just kind of get a video playing in the background and just kind of zone out and let the video play and listen to that while I'm in the process of kind of making everything, kind of getting everything compressed down and all that. And then, of course, you have the time that all of this stuff takes to render. I am looking at getting a solid state drive as soon as I get some money things sorted out. I'll probably end up getting me a solid state drive to save the videos on while well, no, because I mean I'm gonna have to, because I still have to render them from the spin drive, so but I mean, at the very least, it should help with the uploads. Yeah, I said the thing is, it's just it takes a lot of time to do all of this stuff, and KSP takes the longest out of everything. Dragon Age really doesn't take that long, because mostly I either have to cut out, the worst thing I have to do with Dragon Age is have to cut out loading screens. Other than that, it's really just a simple case of load it up, double check, and go. Now, I do get forgetful sometimes, and I forget to add stuff, like I've done another ARC video, and I forgot to add in the username to the video for my Steam account, so I'll put that down in the description. No big deal. I mean, it's just I get into a rush with these things, and of course I get myself kind of overloaded and all that. So yeah, you guys probably noticed there that I had kind of overshot the station a little bit. Yeah, that was a huge mistake. Now, one of the things you guys are going to notice is when this is all done, when I'm done with this part, the rocket and the tug are going to be left floating in space. The reason that's important is because when we come back to do the second half, they're going to be attached to the station. The reason for that is because I went back and loaded the quick save from because I believe I saved after I got everything put together, and just before I was gonna attach the rocket. So yeah, God, I love that. I'm sorry, that tug looks so cool. I mean, especially like when it's moving around, it looks so awesome. It's this tiny little thing. It just like bursts off, and that's its whole purpose, is to do what it's doing right now, is to help in the construction of the station by grabbing hold of something and attaching it. But what I did was I reloaded the save and kind of redid everything to make sure that it was a little bit less messy the second time around. The main problem is I didn't put a probe body on the actual rocket portion of the tank, and because of that I wasn't able to get the rocket back to Kerbin the way I wanted to. So when I sent the second rocket up, because I had planned on just putting a probe body on the rocket itself, I had to basically put a probe body not only on the rocket but also build a sacrificial tug that was going to end up being disposed of in the atmosphere. That didn't work either. As you guys will see later on in the video, what happened was I ran out of fuel. It went fairly well, but I ran out of fuel. So I ended up just going back to the tracking station and getting rid of both of them. It was the quickest, simplest thing to do. Yeah, the other problem with not having a probe body on the rocket is whenever I go to dock with it, the rocket rotates around. You know, so I mean, even the slightest, I mean, the tug does not weigh really anything by comparison to the rocket, but of course they're both floating in space, and the tug actually has power. It actually has some form of thrust. And yeah, so the rocket just kind of gets lightly bumped and starts spinning. So it did cause a few problems here and there. So the second design of the rocket actually does have the probe body attached to it. So all those problems were pretty much alleviated. And that went a little bit smoother the second time around. I also need to, I believe my Kerbal attachment system is broken again. I do actually wish it was implemented into the game, because I need to attach struts. So right now everything on this station is attached by those docking ports, and those docking ports are magnetically locked. That's a problem, because without having the struts to help keep everything stable, you'll notice how it kind of wobbles about. That wobble is very, very bad. The station can fix itself, but not easily. So here you go. Here's where I'm attempting to get the rocket back into position, and you'll notice my electric charge and monopropellant. Well, my electric charge is fine, but my monopropellant is like, yeah, pretty much non-existent. That was really my fault. I should not have. I should have paid attention. I really should have refueled the tug when it was attached to the station. So we're going to jump back to the Space Center as soon as the monopropellant runs out on this thing, which it will here in a little bit. And like I said, you're going to notice that I kind of leave all this stuff in orbit. So I noticed that the tug was running out of monopropellant, and I detached it to try and get it back to the station. But of course, it ran out of monopropellant before I got back to the station. So yeah, that was a. I mean, you guys can kind of get an idea of what I was trying to do, but yeah, it completely did not work. And then of course I ran out of monopropellant and couldn't get the tug back to the station. I said the problem is I ran out of monopropellant first, and then I detached the tug thinking that I had monopropellant still in the tug. So like I said, we're going to jump back here, and I'm literally just going to reload the same rocket, make a few minor alterations to it, and send it back up. So anything that you guys didn't get to see in the original construction, I'm kind of showing off there. I I had to add those struts onto the bottom because the ones going from the outer tanks to the top worked so long as those outer tanks were still attached to the rocket. Once they detached, then everything was just held on by magnets. So that was kind of stupid of me. But yeah, so I had to I redesigned the I designed kind of a like I said, designed a sacrificial tug that I was going to end up getting rid of. Hated to do it. Love those little things, man. They're fantastic. But, you know, unfortunately, science and all that. Yeah, and as you see, this thing still takes forever to get off the launch pad. So, this section actually went a whole lot smoother than the last section, but that was because I was actually able to leave it facing in the right direction. And like I stated before in some of my videos, the reason I put these things facing north is because when they rotate around their center. They don't actually flip over or turn around on their sides or anything like that. So it makes life a whole lot easier when it comes to attaching stuff, because I can face the rocket north and they'll both be facing the same direction all the time. So, yay, win-win. I need to figure something out about... Well, I should need to figure something out about the skipper, about why it doesn't have enough fuel, but... I mean, why it doesn't have enough power. But to tell you the truth, it really doesn't matter anymore. With the station up and running, I do need to refill. The main tank is full. The main center tank is full. The 2 attachment tanks are full. And only one of the outer twin tanks on either side has fuel in it. It's not full. So I do need to refill the entire station with fuel. But that's really not going to be that bad. This whole design can actually get up, so I'll have to try and figure out a design for refueling. But I can actually kind of focus a little bit now on making a space plane. Because the... because the station is pretty much set up and ready to go, it can receive visitors, it can refuel ships. It's not 100% complete, but it is partially complete. Now, I'm trying to remember why I had to go back to the Space Center there. I don't fully remember. Obviously, something went wrong. I think I was experiencing too much wobble, which was kind of messing me up. I don't know. I don't fully remember why I had to go back to the Space Center there. I apologize for not taking that out, because, of course, that would have cut out a few good minutes of, probably about a minute or so of footage, which, of course, makes my life a tiny bit easier. Just a bit, though. But, yeah, like I said, the station is almost complete. I know it's not doing science, but to tell you the truth, I'm not going to lie, building the station is probably a little bit more... No, I'm calling it. It's way more cool than landing on a celestial body. The reason why building the station is so much cooler than landing on the moon or landing on Minmus or going out into space and doing all that other stuff is because it's something that didn't previously exist. Right? So, like, I'm literally making something from nothing. And it's like, how awesome is that? So, and actually, I gotta admit, I'm not 100% in love with the design. I liked the old design a little bit better, where it had the 3 independent sections. But, of course, that was going to be a lot more fuel tanks. And I really wasn't thinking when I constructed the station. So, that just kind of happened. It wasn't a case of, ooh, I know I'm going to build it like this. I literally had no idea what I was doing when I was building the station core in the beginning. in the first place, save for the fact that I knew better than to use the 4-way docking port thing and send it up into orbit, because I did that on my very first space station, and that was a terrible, terrible idea. I mean, you're talking trying to hit something with what is in essence a rocket. No, it's literally a rocket, like a Saturn V rocket. You're trying to hit a basketball in orbit with a Saturn V rocket. Like, yeah, that's literally what happened, like word for word. Yeah, it was awful. Like, I had the hardest time not only just finding the stupid thing, but getting into a position to where I could actually dock with it. Oh god, that was terrible. But it did teach me a lot. Namely, you guys will notice that I don't use the dock mode or the oh, what's it called? It's the dock alignment assistance. The reason I don't use either of those, the docking mode, it basically changes your WSD keys to the docking translations, which are currently H, N, I, J, K, and L. I can use those just as easily as I can use the WSD keys, and in all actuality, it's a little bit faster. And it does allow me to still have my WASD keys to kind of move around. Yeah, just really kind of just move around. So, I mean, I can make rotations and stuff like that. Like, if I'm not quite angled right, I can rotate left and rotate right, which is really helpful, which is really kind of important too when I'm doing these bits on the station, because I can literally put them on in any direction that I want. But I want them all kind of facing the same way, and one of them ends up getting off, the very last one ends up getting off just a tiny bit, and it annoys me to no end, but I have to live with it, because the alternative is to undock it and rotate it and try and redock it, and the redocking does not work right. If you dock something to the station or dock something together, undock it, and then realize that you forgot to do something and quickly try and redock it again, it won't reattach. I don't know why it still does that. I think it's a case of you have to let it sit for a second, or you have to reset it as a target or something like that in order to kind of get the whole system to kind of reset and say, okay, hey, look, these two things are going to be docking together again. I'm not 100% certain, but it is very annoying, but only just. So there you can see the bottom half of that other rocket attached to the station there. Yeah, like I said, I went ahead and kind of reloaded the game from a quick save and did all that. You guys really, you probably would have wanted to see it, but like I said, I mean, you're talking this, like I said, this is a 3-hour video, and I've cut it down to, well, it's about a 4-hour video, because I mean, it was 3 hours and 50 something minutes or something along those lines. I don't fully remember. But yeah, I mean, I pretty much cut it down to 1/10 of its length. So yeah, so this is the reason why. And I know I was really close to that. Like, I mean, I saw that, I was like, wow, I was dangerously close to smacking into that thing. So yeah, this is one of the reasons why I needed that on there, is because I could actually set this up just like it is set up right now. Which, actually, thinking about it, when I attached to that last section, I actually really didn't even have to do anything but just attach it. I don't even know why I took it off the thing, but I mean, look how awesome that looks, like, as it's just like slowly coming together. That is crazy. That is crazy. Yeah, so I don't know why I took it off the rocket bit off. I mean, that really didn't make a lot of sense. Huh. I mean, it's one of those things, you know, you never think about at the time, but looking back at the footage now, I'm like, wait a minute, I could have literally just, because basically what I ended up doing is I attached the rocket base there to the same exact Well, I think I may have moved it to another pod, but I mean, I still attached it to the base of one of those pods. So, and I don't know why it does that either. Like, whenever I go to do a translation, it just freaks and dumps all of my monopropellant out. You know, it's really weird. But it's one of those things that, I tell you, this is so difficult. It is so difficult trying to do all that stuff. Yeah, see, I detached it. I don't know why I detached it. I mean, I should have just left it attached. It would have been so much easier. You know, especially when you consider that I've got a probe body on that other piece anyway. So I ended up just going ahead and straight controlling it. Yeah, and then just docking it. Like, why didn't I just... I don't know. Sometimes the brain does not always work the way we like it to. But, yeah, like I said, I'm going to dock this thing up. I dumped a little bit of fuel into the middle, into that mid-section there, the mid-rocket section. Obviously making sure to refill all the tanks and stuff first. And then, yeah, so as you can see, like I said, those two outer tanks are full. I think those other ones are, if they're not full, they're pretty dang close to it. But yeah, I was trying to get the ratio of oxidizer to of liquid to oxidizer right, and it will not do it. And then of course I accidentally fired up the rocket engines, which yeah. So you see, that's why I need to add the struts onto this thing, is so that way in the event something like that happens again, this whole thing doesn't go freaking out like that. Also, I need to make sure to shut down those stupid rocket engines before I... Because the problem is this, the shift key. The shift key activates the engine, and it's really easy to hit by accident. So, yeah, it just... it gets a little bottom clenching from time to time. So yeah, like I said, what I was basically doing, I was just making sure that everything was refilled, getting all the fuels and stuff like that off. Now the second rocket assembly will actually be able to make it down to the planet fairly easily. The first one, I forgot to put fuel in. Actual rocket fuel. It had monopropellant, but it didn't have any rocket fuel. And it was just like, yeah, oops. So, yeah, that went very, very wrong. But yeah, like I said, I'll deorbit this section. What little bit of fuel it had was enough to get it down into the atmosphere, which is all I really needed to do. I didn't need it to, you know, actually collide. I just needed to get it below 60. So that way the atmospheric resistance would actually drag it down and cause it to crash. The second one, like I said, I just ended up having to detonate because, well, there was really not much I could do about it. Also, there's no electrical charge on this because there were no batteries. That's why okay, I remember now why I ended up having to go back. I had to go back on that other one because when I got into orbit, I had the solar panels, but I didn't have any batteries. And that's what I was doing, is I had to add batteries to the segment because this whole assembly can't make it around the planet without losing its charge, and I desperately needed to have its charge, to have battery power in order for me to be able to do what I needed to do. So yeah, that's the reason why there was that's the reason for that jump cut in the middle. That's why I had to go back to the station, to the Space Center, and all that. So this thing basically went from 90 something to a little over 100. Yeah, it plummeted like a rock. It basically turned into a spear after a certain point. So basically all I'm doing now, so see, this is what I was talking about it not reattaching. So I mean, I literally just detached it and I can't reattach it to that same spot. I don't know why it won't do it. So I just decided, you know what, to heck with it. I'll move it to the top because that's where I wanted to have it anyway. I don't know. I like it being up at the top as kind of like, it's not really a beacon, but as kind of a launching post for the thing. And then of course we're going to take the little one here, and what little monopropellant it has left is not going to be enough to get this thing back. Now the thing is, I could have fixed that problem. I could have reattached it back to the station, but here's where things kind of went wrong. Firstly, I was burning in the wrong direction. So I wasted probably about half of my monopropellant burning the wrong way, and then the other half of the monopropellant went trying to fix it, and then I didn't have a docking port on the top, so it all just kind of went haywire. So the station is done. Well, done enough to where I can actually be satisfied. So that's it for me, guys. I'm done, and to that I'm going to say sayonara.